That's probably a misclick. Queen 4. See it for value. Get a min raise. Again, same mistakes as on a lot of hands these in the session. Here we have a very weak top pair, so we don't dominate any top pair hands. And when you think about this value range, who gets it in? Like there are maybe King 9 in it, maybe Jack 9 if he's a bit more aggressive, but that's about it. And against draws we're flipping or have like maximum 60%. And that's not a favorable situation, because also we fold all his bluffs again, all of his bluffs. So here, especially when he makes it so small, just call, like keep his bluffs in, keep the pot a bit smaller. On the turn, if it's like a plank, we get a lot more equity against his draws. So yeah, in this spot, don't make the mistake to always just get in. Of course, on minus EV, and it makes the hand easier to play, but don't avoid spots because they might be a bit more tricky. Like always try to think about their range and what is best against their range in a particular spot. Same here, jamming here wouldn't be minus EV, but calling is definitely the better option. Here he keeps donking with a flush, so no way we can fold right away. And on the river, it's a really, like if he would bluff on the flop, like it's a really good board for him to continue bluffing, and we have to be good only 25% of the time. So I think the call is very good, so well played. It's 5 again, usually a min raise fold. If it's even a bit more aggressive, then it's like one of the first hands you should add to your raise calling range. Yeah, 8-3 offsuit for 13 big blinds. I would always open jam. The only exception being if you would flat like below 10% and 3-bet jam like 75-40% or more, then I think raise folding is fine. Raise calling. But most of the time you just want to get it in. It really plays horrible, or not horrible, but doesn't play too well post flop. We can get in against weaker hands by open jamming right away. So nice, well played. Ace-7 against a bit more passive opponent, but just open jam here. Otherwise, raise calling is definitely alright. Managed to suck out, which is nice. 8-5, go in for small c-bet. 30 is all you need there. And when you get called, I would just give up. Like the 30 c-bet needs 25% fold equity, and against almost any opponent you get that. And when he calls, I expect his range to be not super strong, but it's also hard to fold out a lot of hands. Like you would always need to triple barrel, and with like 8-5 I really don't want to do that in that spot. Yeah, especially like what you can't do is betting turn and checking river, because on the turn he will call all his gut shots and most of his flop calling range again, and the 9 then is a really good river card. So if you plan on barreling, you definitely have to jam that river against all those Queen Jack, King Queen type hands, or King 3. King 6, not strong enough to raise a limp with, so checking is fine. And on this spot I think giving up is perfectly fine against a pot size bet. In a limp pot people are even more passive than in a raised pot, and it's a board which crushes his limping range a lot of times. You can call one time if you would make it a bit smaller, especially with the backdoor flush draw, but here I think folding is perfectly fine. 7-6. Here we have open ender. We get great odds, so we can call, but I also prefer this raise, also this raise size. Here, as it's a lot of random overcards, or 4 or 5, which we can barrel him off on a lot of runouts on turn and river. So I really like the raise size, and if he jams we can we can call. Like, yeah, like you shouldn't fold there. You have 2 overcards at a 5, an open ender, and his range also. His hand doesn't look like super strong as he's just jamming in over small raise. Like with like a 2-pair type hand, you often see like a min 3-bet or a call and a donk turn or something like that, as they're afraid of you folding. So yeah, if you raise, definitely call a shove. Otherwise, I wouldn't raise here. Like if I can, I wouldn't call a shove. I would just call here, getting perfect odds. Aces, we min raise, it's fine. Then we c-bet for value. Again, betting for value. Sizing is also fine. Like 90, I think is perfect. 100 looks a bit too strong on such a board, and 80. I don't think there's a difference between 80 and 90. So I think perfect sizing. And on the river, he jams here. If you have no reads or he's a bit more passive, then I think that's an easy fold. Like people don't usually do that with a 1-pair type hand, so it's either 2-pair or more likely a flush, and yeah, it's not a straight very often, as you would need to check call 4-6 on the flop. But I think it's just a 2-pair or flush then most of the time. If he's a bit more aggressive, the board isn't super scary, so then I think a call is fine. Alright. Check 7, just check call with mid-pair and a flush draw. Queen are the best card, but with so many outs we can't really fold. But on the river I would definitely fold without more reads. Like if he's more aggressive and more bluffy, then I think it's a really good spot to check to call down. But against most opponents, I think check folding is the right play on the river. King 6, we would probably check call, one bet on the flop with the 2 overcards on the backdoor, flush draw and king high. But he checks behind. Probably a range of ace high, king high, and not a ton of air. So against this range, I think just getting to showdown or giving up is fine. Like on the turn against a 40 bet, it's pretty hard to give up. It's not too bad. Like he can bet ace high for value, and most of the time he will just check a lot of other hands. Of course, you can bluff sometimes, so calling here one time is definitely alright. But when he jams there, not much we can do. Like I wouldn't call for splits here. For split here, we have to be good 42%, and you can definitely trap with a 4 or check behind a deuce. So yeah, like if you want to call there, you should just shove yourself. Like it's much better to shove here in the spot and give and make him call for split than it is to check and you call for split. Nine six, you're definitely strong enough to call a non 3-bet with on this board. I'm not really sure about the jam. Like we get it in against all the good hands and maybe some ace 10, but this hand really performs well in our calling range. Like we also want to call a lot of weak pairs here. So especially with the flush draw, I don't see a point in jamming there. I mean, you might get calls from ace 10, but it's not like you crush them hands, and you get it in with any really strong hand. And also, when there's like a plank on the turn, and he would, for example, bet again, like a small bet you can call, but if, for example, he would jam, and you have a read that he isn't like aggressive, and you can actually easily fold and save a lot of chips, because that board, people don't barrel then if they're passive in a 3-bet pot. But we managed to make quads, which is always nice. And last hand for this video, we flat 10-9 suited, make mid pair, mid kicker, and he c-bets over the pot. So here, readless, like totally readless, I think calling once here is fine and seeing what the turn is, like on a blank turn, and I would probably call it off. Against a bit more passive opponent, then I think, yeah, just folding right away is definitely fine. Alright, so that was it for this video. Thanks for watching.